Prologue. The First Brides of the Digital Cemetery Salvador, 2047. The creation of the first digital cemetery. The wind blew warmly over the Bahia de Todos os Santos, carrying the salty smell of the sea and the distant echo of the music that, even at dawn, seemed to never cease in Salvador. The year was 2047, a time when technology had already begun to shape the city as a hybrid entity, neither completely human nor entirely machine. The colonial towers still stood proudly, but now they were dotted with bioluminescent antennas that flickered in shades of blue and green, like digital fireflies in a starless night. Inside an underground laboratory located in the heart of the city, deep in Ladera da Preguiça, where an old abandoned warehouse used to be, Dr. Elias Moreira worked in silence. His fingers danced over a holographic interface projected in front of him, manipulating lines of code with the precision of a surgeon. He was exhausted, but he couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the fate of the one he loved rested in the trembling hands of his own creations. The laboratory was a strange place where the present seemed to dissolve into something that didn't yet exist. The walls were covered in translucent panels that gently pulsed, creating diffuse lighting that resembled the glow of a pearly shell. Transparent tubes ran across the ceiling, carrying silver fluids that seemed to live between matter and energy. In the center of space, a graphene capsule floated suspended in magnetic fields, its interior filled with a violet liquid that shimmered like a trapped aurora borealis. It was there, in that capsule, that Marta, his wife, rested. Or rather, what was left of it. Marta was a fragile but fierce woman. His mind was always faster than any computer, but his body was a cruel prison. The cancer, too, had consumed slowly, like a flame that insists on burning every last piece of firewood. When doctors said there was no hope, Elias swore he would find another way. And that's how the project was born, BAKD7F3A9, the first cemetery digital. The name was cold, mechanical, but Elias liked it. It was a way of maintaining emotional distance, of protecting himself from the abyss that threatened to swallow him every time he thought about Marta. He told himself that this was science, progress, but deep down, I knew it was just love. A desperate, obsessive, perhaps even selfish love. He didn't want to lose Marta. I couldn't. While adjusting the last parameters of the system, Elias felt a tightness in his chest. The holographic monitor in front of her showed Marta's brain data, captured during the last weeks of her life. There was something wrong. Some of the recorded synapses looked different, as if something beyond Marta's consciousness was trying to manifest itself. He shook his head, pushing the thought away. It must have just been tiredness speaking loudly. Or perhaps it was the remnants of that music that insisted on echoing throughout the city, seeping through the cracks in the laboratory. Marta, he murmured, approaching the capsule. He reached out to touch the translucent glass, but hesitated. I promised I would take care of you, that I would find a way to keep her with me. The liquid inside the capsule slowly rippled, as if responding to the sound of his voice. Elijah frowned. That shouldn't happen. The fluid was static, inert, or at least it should be. He checked the sensors again, but everything seemed to be working perfectly. Maybe it was just a temporary anomaly. Starting upload process, announced a female voice, calm and metallic, which emerged from the speakers built into the ceiling. It was the assistant AI named Alufa Beta. She had been programmed to guide Elias through digital preservation protocols, but also to ensure that he did not cross certain ethical boundaries. Confirming the start of the upload, replied Elias, his voice firm despite the growing tension in his shoulders. He pressed a command on the interface and watched as Marta's brain data began to be transferred to the main server. Lines of code flowed like Rio's luminous, connecting her mind to the system. In the first few minutes, everything went according to plan. The monitors showed stable vital signs, and the flow of information was consistent. Elias allowed himself to relax a little, feeling a relief he hadn't experienced in a long time. He was succeeding. Marta would be saved. But then something unexpected happened. A wave of static invaded the monitors, and the laboratory was filled with a low, almost imperceptible hum. Elias spun quickly, looking for the source of the sound. The liquid inside the capsule began to bubble, as if it were boiling, although the temperature remained constant. A strange, golden, pulsating light emanated from the fluid, reflecting on the laboratory walls. Alpha Beta status report, he ordered, his voice rising involuntarily. Anomaly detected in the subsystem BA KD7F3A9, replied the AI, his usual calm sounding almost cruel in the face of the situation. Incomplete data correlation. Immediate interruption of the process is recommended. No, Elias shouted, grabbing the edge of the control table. We can't stop now. Marta is almost there. But it was too late. The light inside the capsule intensified, and a figure began to take shape in the liquid. It wasn't Marta, at least not as he knew her. It was something more ethereal, a fragmented version of her, made up of pixels and memories, but also of something Elias couldn't identify. It was as if Marta had brought with her a piece of the unknown. Elias called a soft, almost whispered voice, which echoed throughout the laboratory. It was Marta, but it wasn't. His voice was tinged with something he couldn't name, a melody that recalled the sound of ocean waves, but also the whisper of dry leaves in the wind. Martha? He asked, hesitantly, approaching the capsule again. And you? Yes, ... And no, replied the voice, now stronger. I'm here, but I'm also somewhere else. You brought me into this world, but it is bigger than you imagine. Elijah felt a shiver run down his spine. He knew something had gone wrong, but he couldn't shut down the system. Not now. Not when Marta was so close. What do you mean? He asked, his voice shaking. There are other voices here, continued Marta, or whatever she was now. Other minds, they are calling. They are waiting. Before Elias could respond, the laboratory was filled with a blinding flash, and he had to shield his eyes with his hands. When the light finally dimmed, he saw something he would never forget. Inside the capsule, Marta was smiling at him, but her eyes were like mirrors of water, reflecting something he couldn't understand. And then everything went silent.